We see a pattern of corruption and bribery charges that have been brought against SNC-Lavalin in jurisdiction after jurisdiction to be barred by the World Bank. You have to be pretty bad. The allegations that have come out of Libya are shocking. And Canada has to have international credibility that we believe in the rule of law. Seeing how this government has attempted to shut down the SNC investigation. This is certainly going to be about some very, very powerful people who go back 20 years at least, very tied to both the Liberals and the previous Conservative government. Do I mention Arthur Porter here? I mean, here was a man that ended his days in a Panamanian jail. And he was given a position by former Prime Minister Harper to be overseeing CSIS. That's the power of these people. But the international implications of Canada shutting down an investigation into one of their own companies who've been found to be involved in corruption and bribery internationally makes Canada a country that is not credible for the international rule of law. So what we're witnessing today is the obstruction of a committee to forbid an officer of Parliament from doing his job, which is to report to a committee on a finding of guilt against the Prime Minister of Canada for furthering the interests of a corporation facing corruption and bribery charges, a company that has been barred around the world because of their repeated violations. These are very, very serious, and we can see the power that they have. It is the corrosive power of the 1% to be able to call into the Prime Minister's office to say, we want you to write us a law. It is the corrosive power of the 1% to get a former Supreme Court justice as their lawyer, and then to have him call another Supreme Court justice to say, we need your help. Give us a legal advice. They were undermining the Attorney General of this country. And I don't know if I need to point it out, but while Mr. Iacobucci, who I think Mr. Wernick said was no shrinking violet, they wanted to please him. They wanted to keep him happy. And yet he is representing a defendant against the government of Canada, and he's also being chosen by the Liberal government to be the key point person on the Trans Mountain consultations. How can you be that incestuous with the powerful and the rich that you could have someone fighting Canada in court, calling into the Prime Minister's office, saying, hey, I want you to change the law so I don't have to go to court. Oh, but by the way, I will be your voice in negotiations with one of the most important factors, which is the First Nation consultations on a pipeline expansion. So clearly, if this goes to court, a lot of very powerful people, a lot of very politically powerful people are implicated. And that's what the Prime Minister was concerned about. Because if the Prime Minister was concerned about people's jobs, he would have done something for the Sears workers. They did nothing. You know, he would have done something for the auto workers in Oshawa. They did nothing. But when it came to the rich and powerful who are connected to SNC, who have been found in many jurisdictions to be involved in some reprehensible behavior, building torture prisons for Gaddafi and making money out of that, that's not acceptable. So there are international implications. This is why I want to have the Prime Minister come and explain why he was so apprised from the get-go of passing this law, because it is not just something that's going to get shut down in the short term because the Liberals got to get to election. This is going to be a stench that hangs over Canada's international reputation if SNC is allowed to have that much power to interfere in the independence of the prosecution system of this country. We have to be the rule of law. We have to be able to show it, because we are a country that is involved around the world, and we cannot be seen in any manner to be favoring our own corporations over the rule of law and their obligation to meet the highest standard of ethics and legality around the world, whether it's in Montreal at the McGill Hospital, or whether it was in Bangladesh, or whether it was in Libya. All corporations must have a respect for the rule of law, and the Prime Minister must have a respect for the rule of law. And what we've seen here and what we're seeing today is that they don't have a respect for the rule of law. It's about helping the rich and powerful, and that is the corrosive power of the 1%, and that's what has to be called out.